Hello again from my front porch. Human beings, such an interesting breed we are. You know, it occurs to me that with a start like that, we could literally go almost anywhere with this topic. But the thing that I wanted to focus on is how so many of us, and I'm including myself in this, how so many of us live this almost dichotomy of desire to do things, to experience things, to have the excitement and the thrill of doing this thing, but at the same time being almost paralyzed, or at least crippled, restricted by fear related to what might happen because of this, and that fear becomes such an overwhelming emotion that it prevents us from doing this over here when nothing may have even happened had we done that. And so rather than just talking about this in little theoretical things, let's look at some actual examples. Like, for example, roller coasters. Perfect example. I don't ride them. Why? Why do I not ride them? Well, it's because, I'm afraid of the motion. I'm afraid of going upside down. I'm afraid of the heights. Maybe all the above. But here's the interesting thing. I have ridden indoor roller coasters, meaning they're all self-contained. You're not actually outside seeing things. And those I do okay with. Those are totally fine. So it's not the motion, it's not even the height per se, because you can still get pretty high in that. But you're in that car where you're generally restricted. There's the bar that comes down, and that if I'm holding this bar and it's locked in place, I'm not going anywhere. And so my the safety part of my brain is okay. But then if I were to try to go on a roller coaster that was outdoors where I could see everything, well, then it's a problem. I've even had that issue with the Ferris wheel. Now, there are some Ferris wheels that have the completely enclosed gondolas. And I can get in those and have no problem carrying conversation, which is fine. But if I get in a Ferris wheel that has the open gondolas, like at Adventureland Park here in Des Moines, they have these big gondolas that are designed to seat, 6 or 8 people in a big circular thing, but it's open on the whole top half of it. And I get on that thing, and initially starts off just fine, but as it gets up, and of course Ferris wheels, they continually stop to let people out and people on. And you get up there and you're in that gondola and it's open like that and it starts swinging a bit in the breeze, and that's it for me. I got to get out of there. I'm done. And so this idea of going on this really fun, because I see all these people going on roller coasters. I have friends and family who all love doing this, and I see the thrill and the joy and the excitement that they have with that, and I want to be part of that. But then there's the fear part that kicks in that says, no, you can't do that. Why? What is the fear for? It's irrational. In fact, in the case of roller coasters, for a lot of people, what it probably comes down to is a fear that something will happen, that the roller coaster will crash, that somehow you'll fall out of the roller coaster, or whatever the case may be. Now, are there occasionally accidents that happen on roller coasters and that people do get injured or even killed? Yes. Does it happen a lot, considering the number of times roller coasters run in this country every single day? The number of accidents and incidents that happen, very, very, very small. But, my brain assumes that I'm going to be that one. There's something's going to go wrong, and so I can't get on the roller coaster. It's irrational. It makes no sense. But now, in my case, it's even more weird when you consider that when I was a kid, based on all the stories, I don't personally remember all the stories, but my parents loved to tell stories about what a risk taker I was, what a daredevil I was, how fearless I was, that I just did stuff. Did stuff because I wanted to, because I enjoyed it, and I just did these crazy, stupid, insane things. And I think back now and I'm like, I am so lucky to even be alive today. But today I wouldn't do that, because as I have matured, I've become more aware of the liabilities and the possibilities of what might happen. Now I talk myself out of being able to have the experience. Skydiving is another thing, another experience that people, that seems so fun, and it looks, people do the parachutes, the thrill, the jump. You see the videos of people, and all this, having a great time doing this. And then you stop and think about, opening the door in an airplane up in the air. See, now I fly all the time. It doesn't bother me. I can even sit at the window seat. Doesn't bother me. But then the idea of opening that door, even though I know I've got a parachute on me that's supposed to catch me, and that's where the fear part comes in, that, what if it doesn't? What if? What may, could, possibly, perhaps. All of these things begin to, the grown-up brain begins to kick in and say, there could be problems. See, apparently little Paul would have been like, yeah, I'm jumping, and, just throw the parachute to me. I'll get it in the air. Now, I have not gone skydiving. I was going to say paratrooping. I guess it's kind of the same thing. It's skydiving, but with guns. Anyway, I've not done that either. But I did go to their place where they do the indoor skydiving, the iFly, where they've got this big wind generator thing in this tube area, and you get into a suit, and you go in there and they crank that, and that lifts you up off the floor, and you actually can, and the people who know what to do there, especially the instructors that work with you, they'll get in there and they'll be just doing somersaults in the air and all kinds of crazy stuff up in there. You don't do that, right away the first time doing it, but I did that, and I had a great time doing that. But again, it's kind of like the indoor roller coaster. See, I was inside, and yes, it lifts you up in the air and you're off the ground, but that wasn't the concerning part. I still felt safe enough to try the experience. Now, does that mean I'm ready to jump out of a plane? No. I never say never. You just never know. But today, probably not. But the reason this whole topic even popped in my head was I was seeing on social media this place in Egypt. There's this video going around of people floating in these salty oasis waters in a town called Siwa, S-I-W-A. Siwa is apparently 8 to 12 hours away from Cairo. At least that's what the video stuff that I've seen talks about, where it says you can take a 12-hour overnight bus ride from Cairo to get to Siwa, or you can just rent your own car and drive yourself, and it's still an 8-hour drive direct for you. So it's way off the beaten path. But in this place, they have these, what looks like it's probably salt mines or massive salt deposits that have had spots worn out in them, and they've filled with water. These salt caves that have filled up with water in there, and so it's like makes this bluish and then just completely dark spots. Well, anyway, there was this one video of this guy climbing down into one of these smaller ones and floating it, because the buoyancy is incredible because it's all with salt. But this guy climbs down into the water and floats, and reading the reactions, the comments on this video of this guy slipping down into this. And there was all these people with practical questions like, how do you keep from cutting yourself, cutting your feet and your arms and your hands, getting into it, because it looks very jaggedy, it's mostly salt buildup, all around. And so, legitimate, but very still completely missing the experience, the enjoyment of the experience by focusing on but you got this problem here, this is a reality check. But even beyond that, the most common thing that I saw. Now, granted, I did not read every single comment on the video, but as I scrolled down through, what I saw over and over and over, and then people liking and agreeing and commenting on other comments, were those that said variations of, well, how do you know there's not something deep down in there that won't come up and grab you? I've seen enough horror movies to see. I've seen enough science fiction. I know this works. Oh, it'd be just my luck that one of those prehistoric things are going, all these kind of things. And some people doing it clearly jokingly, but it's only half jokingly because they are honestly thinking, I could never get in that water. I could never have this experience of this incredible buoyancy in this oasis water because I would be afraid there's a creature living down in there that's going to reach up and grab me. Now, hundreds of people, thousands of people float in this water, and there's yet to be a creature that has grabbed any of them, at least near as I can see, as that in the limited research that I have done. But you would think if it had happened, there would be something about it. And yet, there's all these people saying, I couldn't do that because of this fear that I have. And it all just again really makes me think, why are we that way? Why are we as people wired to want to do stuff, but then we restrict ourselves with the fear that maybe, possibly, perhaps, could something happen when we do this over here? And odds are 99.9% of the time, maybe even a higher percentage than that, absolutely nothing bad will happen. But the fear doesn't go away. Now, there are some who will say, well, you just got to face your fear. You got to face it head on. If the idea of jumping out of an airplane scares you, then you need to go do it. Face that fear. Get over that fear. Maybe that works. I don't know. I will say this. And this is a surprise often to people when I tell them this, but I used to be very self-conscious. I had a very, very, very low opinion of myself. My self-esteem was way down low. So much so that even back when I was a school teacher in the 90s, I had trouble looking not just other teachers, the students, other people, anybody in the eye when I talked to them. Why? Because for someone who has low self-esteem, you cannot look at somebody else in the eye because you do not, in your mind, you do not see yourself as equal enough to them to be able to talk to them. You see yourself as being a lesser person. So I couldn't even look at students in the eye because in my mind, I was always the lesser person, even though I was the teacher. And, that made it difficult. You don't breed confidence in others, in you, in your abilities when you can't do that. And over time, I got coached on this. I was made aware of this that I was doing, because I wasn't doing it intentionally, but I was made aware of it. I was coached a bit on overcoming that, and I worked and I fought to overcome it. And now, today, I proudly can look somebody right in the eye. Although even when I do it now, I actually have kind of the opposite feeling. I feel like if I'm looking at you right in the eye when I'm talking to you, I am being confrontational. that I am trying to play a power game with you, that because I am speaking and looking at you in the eye, I am letting you know I have the power here. That's because my brain is screwed up. That's there's just no middle ground with me, apparently. But I do try to be mindful of it. But what I have learned is, first of all, I can think better of myself, and it's not being prideful, it's not being arrogant, it's just being healthy, having a good, healthy self view. And so all these different things that we avoid doing stuff because we have these silly, irrational fears. Sometimes we can work on them. We can overcome them, like I did with looking people in the eyes. But a lot of times, it's just not something. I have a fear of heights, but it's not really the heights that is my problem. My fear is not really the fear. I told you, flying airplanes all the time, and I don't have any problem looking out the window. I'll go up into tall skyscrapers and go right up to the window and looking right out, looking over everything, and I have no problem with that. Why? Because I'm not afraid of falling. I know I'm not going to fall. I am safe. I can look right into the precipice of that, and I'm not going to fall. It's that fear of falling that is the issue for me. It's not the heights. It's not experiencing that incredible view. It's this irrational fear that if there is a possibility that I could fall, I might fall. And so for that reason, when I am walking, like we have a skywalk system here in downtown Des Moines, which is wonderful. I walk through those, no problem, look right out the windows, no big deal. But we have some facilities that the skywalk system cuts through, and they have a wide open lobby area, and you're like on the 3rd or 4th floor, and you can walk along the railing edge and look right down all those floors down. I can't do that. I can walk in the skywalk, no problem. But when I go into one of those areas that's all open, even though there's a railing there, I go all the way over against the far wall. Now, not like literally touching the wall, but I will walk over there, way away from the railing, over on the other side. Why? Because even though there's a railing, I could fall over. So I won't enjoy the experience or the view or the artistry of the architecture. I won't take that in and appreciate that because of the fear that prevents me from being able to take advantage of that. I'll bet you have some things like that as well, things that just are hard to explain. You've just come to accept it, so is everybody else around you. Yeah, that's the way we are. It's just too bad. Because there are things that I wish that I could more readily embrace, that I wish I could enjoy, that I wish I could be like that kid who, when I was little, would get on his tricycle. And this is not exaggeration. Both my mom and my dad have corroborated this story. Would get on my tricycle, and where we lived up higher than one of the highways that went through town, and it was about 2 blocks, maybe 2.5 blocks. That you go down this hill, and there's the Highway 71, going through Carroll, Iowa, and across Highway 71 was a little restaurant. I believe it was named Pauline's. And the waitresses at that restaurant were very nice. They would always give me ice cream. I really liked those waitresses, apparently, because I'd be home with my mom during the day. She'd be doing laundry, whatever. I'm out on my tricycle, out in front of the house, and then all of a sudden, I'm just gone. And mom doesn't know, where did Paul go? Now, today, it would be cause for calling the cops, and, well, my son's missing. At that point, my mom knew, what's he gotten into now? What's he doing now? And before long, the phone would ring, and it would be the waitresses at Pauline's, because little Paul would get at the top of that hill and would start down that hill on his tricycle, on the street, not the sidewalk, on the street. Because it was fairly steep, especially for a little kid on his tricycle, Paul would lift his feet and just coast down this hill on his tricycle, down the hill and right across US Highway 71 into the parking lot of Pauline's. I don't know how many times I apparently did that, but thankfully, in none of those times did I get hit by a car either on that street or on that highway, because those people on that highway, you're going down through this neighborhood and you get down to the intersection of the street with the highway, and if you're on the highway, you can't see traffic coming down this street until it's right there at the stop sign. That's why there's a stop sign right there. So if somebody had been on Highway 71 when little Paul came cruising down on his tricycle, they would not have seen me until I was right there. Thank you. My guardian angel probably got hazard pay. And there are so many other stories. That's just one example. But that's an example of how there was that point in my life when I was little where I wanted to do the experience. In this case, I just wanted the ice cream. And apparently I enjoyed the thrill of the vroom down the hill because that didn't bother me either. But so I wanted the experience, and there was not only overlooking of the fear, there literally was no fear. It was just, do it. At some point, that's shifted, and the grown-up brain kicked in. Darn it. Well, anyway, this I'm not solving anything, and I have no advice on this. It's just an interesting phenomena that occurred to me, and I thought, what do you think? Maybe share in the comments below some of the experiences you've had. Some of the things that you struggle with not being able to do this experience because of this totally irrational fear. You might even know the fear makes no sense whatsoever, and yet it's there, and it blocks you from being able to do this over here. Who knows? Maybe by just sharing some of those things with each other, it might help some people get over them. Stranger things have happened. With that, I'll let you go, and I'll see y'all next time from my front porch.